Hi. Welcome to another edition of Sabbath School Flashcards. It is Thursday, January 24, 2019. And the title for today's lesson is, The Significance of Pentecost. Let us begin by reading Acts 2 1-4, Acts 1 4-8 and Acts 2:33. Reading Acts 2 1-4. When the day of Pentecost had fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven, as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. Then there appeared to them divided tongues, as of fire, and one sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak with other tongues, as the Spirit gave them utterance. Now reading Acts 1:48. And being assembled together with them, he commanded them not to depart from Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which, he said, you have heard from me. For John truly baptized with water, but you shall be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days from now. Therefore, when they had come together, they asked him, saying, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? And he said to them, It is not for you to know times or seasons which the Father has put in his own authority, but you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem, and in all Judea and Samaria, and to the end of the earth. Reading Acts 2:33. Therefore being exalted to the right hand of God, and having received from the Father the promise of the Holy Spirit, he poured out this which you now see and hear. In the outpouring of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost, Acts 2 1-4 confirms one of the most decisive events in the history of the plan of salvation. The inauguration of Christ into his post-Calvary ministry as High Priest and King in the heavenly sanctuary. Through his high priestly ministry at the right hand of the Father, Revelation 5:6-7, Christ is able to carry out the plan of salvation to its ultimate realization. As our mediator in the heavenly sanctuary, Jesus works to save us. Through him, believers may have free access to God and receive forgiveness for their sins. Read Acts 2:32-36 along with John 7:39. What hope and encouragement do you find in the fact that Jesus stands in heaven as our priest and king? Reading Acts 2:32-36. His Jesus God has raised up, of which we are all witnesses. Therefore being exalted one to the right hand of God, and having received from the Father the promise of the Holy Spirit, he poured out this which you now see and hear. For David did not ascend into the heavens, but he says himself, The Lord said to my Lord, Sit at my right hand, till I make your enemies your footstool. Therefore let all the house of Israel know assuredly that God has made this Jesus, whom you crucified, both Lord and Christ. Now reading John 7:39. But this he spoke concerning the Spirit, whom those believing in him would receive, for the Holy Spirit was not yet given, because Jesus was not yet glorified. Be prepared to discuss your answer in Sabbath school this coming Sabbath. The exaltation of Christ in the heavenly sanctuary was followed by the descent of the Holy Spirit upon the disciples. Revelation 5:6 mentions the 7 spirits that are sent out into all the earth. As we saw in an earlier lesson, the 7 spirits denote the fullness of the activity of the Holy Spirit in the world. At Christ's enthronement, the Spirit is sent to the church. This sending of the Holy Spirit is one of Christ's first acts as our high priest in the heavenly sanctuary. This outpouring of the Holy Spirit meant that Jesus had appeared before the Father and that God had accepted his sacrifice on behalf of humanity. Christ's ascension to heaven was the signal that his followers were to receive the promised blessing. When Christ passed within the heavenly gates, he was enthroned amidst the adoration of the angels. As soon as this ceremony was completed, the Holy Spirit descended upon the disciples in rich currents, and Christ was indeed glorified, even with the glory which he had with the Father from all eternity. The Pentecostal outpouring was heaven's communication that the Redeemer's inauguration was accomplished. According to his promise, he had sent the Holy Spirit from heaven to his followers as a token that he had, as priest and king, received all authority in heaven and on earth, and was the anointed one over his people. Ellen G. White, The Acts of the Apostles, pages 38 and 39. Read Hebrews 4:16 and Hebrews 8:1. What hope and encouragement do you find in the assurance that Jesus as priest and king has received all authority in heaven and on earth? How does believing this truth help you deal with everyday situations in your life and with the uncertainty of the future? Reading Hebrews 4:16. Let us, therefore, come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Now reading Hebrews 8:1. Now this is the main point of the things we are saying, we have such a high priest, who is seated at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens. Come early to Sabbath school with your answer on Sabbath. This is Witness Glenn. Have a safe and blessed day.